Welcome back, everybody, to the Irish Furian. I am the Irish Furian. I will just take that down. Okay, so anyway, so no big deal, just hanging out, half an hour. Anybody want to talk about anything? Of course, I will be the final word on whatever gets said here, because this is my channel. And anything that I think is, it's going to be like, I have to filter it through my own perspective, obviously. You know, I'll chat along with you, half an hour. Half an hour. And then I'm gone. I think I can break this. Maybe I need something sharp to break this. Yep, it's too tough. Back in a second. That did it. Alright, now, so where the bloody hell did I put the knee? Oh, there it is. Yeah. It's a beautiful day out down here in Cork. Absolutely beautiful. 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 So basically what I've got here is one of the panniers for my bike is it's tearing at the bottom. So what I'm doing is, this is waxed thread. What I'm doing is I'm sewing it up. This is great stuff, waxed thread. The wax makes it go through thicker material easier. On this bag especially, it tears very quickly and very easily because it's where I carry the tools for the bike. So I'm only going to do a short stitch while talking to you guys. So anything you want to talk about, work away. Paid trolls will be ignored. Is that you? I've stitched this, I'd say 2-3 times already. Really what I need to do is actually get the weight out of the bag. I have a smaller bag on the way, a smaller kind of military bag, which has ways to grip bars this way and this way. And with that bag, I'll move the weight off the rear swing arm and onto the front frame of the bike. And that way, not only will I be taking the weight off my pannier bags and stopping them from being destroyed by the weight, but I will also be reducing the weight at the back of the bike itself and moving it forward. So that'll be okay. A bit of a Rambo style on this, but sure. If it gets stitched, it gets stitched. Really, it needs a kind of a buttress. Really, it needs a buttress along the. You must be getting paid pretty well, man. I'll tell you that. Your income must be nice for you to be on in the evening and in the daytime as a paid troll. Your pay must be nice, you know? So you should have invited controlled opposition Barrett onto this, go how he feels about informing. on himself in the graveyard. Informing on himself in the graveyard. Yeah. Oh, I could do a lovely piece on this stuff. I could do it visually as well. I could do a lovely piece on that, but I'm not going to. Well, I may not. I won't say I'm not going to. I'll never say never. Controlled opposition in the graveyard. Like even the visuals are enough to kind of give, and not the heebie-jeebies, but go, you know. They're working along an earlier narrative with these groups. You know, what they do is they provide, it's like QAnon. QAnon was created so that, you know, when you actually had, we say, viable arguments, when you actually had viable dissent based on viable opinions, a smokescreen like something like QAnon would be created so that they could refer to QAnon to make you look like a silly person, you know? And this is how the think tanks do it. This is how they create. It's the same thing like with the whole thing with that one particular tribe that everybody wants to blame for their problems, you know? The ones that whose culture leads them on to be solicitors, lawyers, bankers, and all the rest of it, you know? The real financial criminals use those. They use those the title of that tribe as a liability shield, as cover, you know. And if you think of it in terms of like, it's kind of like a fire break. When we were younger and we'd go walking through the pine forests here in Ireland, the manufactured forests which were used by the Forestry Service in Ireland, they would have things called fire breaks. And so you'd have these very tightly lined rows of conifer trees all the way along, up on the sides of glens and stuff like that, which would then, the wood from the chopping down of those trees would be used in commercial activity later. But the way they would stop a forest fire as part of the plan of sowing the seeds, growing those trees, would be to have a large gap between groups of those trees, you know, sections of those trees. And so they'd have a large gap between them so that if a fire did occur in one of those groups, it would stop or at least slow down when it came to, so that was called a fire break. And what I believe the use of the term that tribe is the same thing. It's a liability shield for real financial criminals. And so all the blame gets put on these people, you know, this demographic. And that's how that works. And I believe the same thing when you there use the word controlled opposition when it comes to somebody like Barrett. I believe it's the same thing. I think it's a fire break, you know. Okay, what are we through? Yeah, we're nearly there. It's just so little plastic. They are plastic, like they're not real leather. There's so little plastic for the thread to go through and make to hold the structure in place. I should have the battery charging actually, because I want to go out later. Really is good stuff, this waxed thread. And so what they do is they create a narrative. They do so at intervals throughout history. They create a narrative which in later decades becomes a straw man, an object of deferral, of blame, so that when you go to say, I have these valid objections, they say, oh, well, you're one of these. Oh, well, you're one of those. And so what they do is they, in political life, they create movements to take those dissenting voices, valid voices that have valid worries and concerns, and they create these movements to give a voice to those people, who have valid concerns. But then, because those political movements are created specifically as a firebreak, it is the energy of those people with the valid concerns gets dissipated. It goes into a dead end. There is no positive conclusion for those rightful dissenting voices, those people with rightful concerns. There isn't any, because the movement is itself a dummy. There is no power in politics. Politics is window dressing. It is, as you put it, controlled opposition. It is a firebreak for finance. It's global finance which holds the power. It's not political movements. I didn't leave myself with enough. What I'll do there is just cut that and come back on it with another bit of thread. I think that'll be the best way to go about that. So that's why you never hear me talking about politics on this channel. Why? Why? Why would I waste my energy? It'd be stupid. That's why I continually talk about having large families, lots of kids, get community with like-minded individuals, get a skill that you can share with that community, grow your own food, and get God. Get God's moral order, because it's only through that kind of structuring and ordering will you get safety in numbers, I suppose, which is what we do, isn't it? As creatures that are gregarious and tend to flock together and like each other's company, more often than not. It's a small little needle. Look at the size of that. Tiny little needle, but strong. It's a strong needle. It won't break too easy. That's so cool. I'm fascinated by all these things. Fascinated by simplicity of design, yet I'm just wondering how that would look as a thumbnail to the video. Oh, excuse me. So what have you got? 11:25. When did I start? 20 minutes, but it didn't really, did I? So it would say 15 onto that. 25. Okay. I'll give it till that time, and then I'll go. What song is that? La da 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 da. No, it's they're the wrong notes. It's close to, but they're the wrong notes. Da 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 da. It's the really unusual. It's a really out of the box collection of melody. It's a really out of the box melody collection of notes. It was a popular song. Yeah. Oh yeah, I came across a video last night of I think is it Jim Visconti? Now I know that all music was created for a particular purpose, but whatever. Well, I'll just talk about it anyway because music is good all the same. But Jim Visconti in the producing studio, he was talking about how Heroes was created with David Bowie in the studio, and he was recounting it last night. And he had all the, so it was originally all on tape. So he was talking about how they recently from the video, transferred all of that production into digital files. Visconti is definitely his second name. Jim, I'm not so sure. I think it is. Music producer. And so, is it Brian? I can always remember the second names. Brian Eno was playing, he was playing a synthesizer, which he carried around in his briefcase. So it was a briefcase-sized synthesizer, which back then, you're talking about really simple. But like at the time was just cutting edge, really simple synthesizer sounds. And so, I'd recognize the sound immediately when I heard it. And he isolated each one. He played each person's track. He played the guitarist's track. He played the drummer's track. He played the bass player's track. And who else was playing? Bowie was playing keys, piano. Well, he played two keys. I think he played a type of piano, but he played some kind of a synth in a very rhythmic kind of way. That was one of the last tracks that Visconti showed us. But and there was also Fripp, who now, weirdly enough, during the pandemic, is with his wife Toya Wilcox. Streaming. I think it streams, or else they're just recording. I'm not sure which. But she comes on, she dances. Now, for a lady in her 50s and 60s, she has a gorgeous figure. But that's a part of the allure of the video, is that she comes on in a particular dress and starts to slink around, while Robert Fripp, he was known in British music back in the day as, one of these cutting edge sound designers, And he was on the record. So it was really interesting to hear. This is the song "Heroes" by David Bowie, which I really like, by the way. And then he actually played Bowie's. He actually played Bowie's. Go find out for yourself, Wild Bill. Honestly, go look. I don't know whether I at this stage I can't tell who's a troll, Patreon, and who isn't. All right, so we may have to do something about that. We may have to figure out a way around this. So, go find out. Figure out what the I may say at some stage, I may not, whether it is or whether I believe or not. But it's what I would say to you is start figuring out how to use if you're not a paid troll, what I would say is how to start using your critical thinking. And I don't mean that in an insulting way or a condescending way. What I mean is figure out how to discern certain patterns and structures and why that is. Try and get behind the process as to why, okay, you're starting to sound like a paid troll. He won't know. Yeah, come on, I don't want to say anything too soon with any of these people that will get myself in trouble, my channel in trouble. As I said, use your critical thinking to discern the things you see and hear, and the answers will come true for you. You also have to hone your moral compass. If you hone your moral compass to know what's up from down, left from right, wrong from right, good from bad, evil from good, then you'll learn. These things will become apparent to you, because moral compass is how you discern these things. There's no great magic to it. It just takes personal discipline and strength, and learning that strength and resources. I can't do everybody's thinking, Wild Bill. Can't do everybody's thinking. I can point you towards how to learn how to think, but if you're not willing to do the work yourself, then you're anybody's. You can be controlled by anybody. You just become another slave, another cog in the system. which is okay. I mean, I'm not going to complain. I mean, I'm not. Past 2-3 nights, I've been showing people. I've been showing live streams of people dancing a South African tribal dance by a South African producer that is gone viral. Viral, come on. You know, what does viral mean? Viral means that, you know, it's taking the onus off the fact that they're pushing it everywhere. Okay? That's what viral means. They promote the video everywhere, but they can't say they promote the video everywhere. So they have to actually hide that fact. And how did they hide that fact? They hide that fact by saying that this has gone viral. Everybody has chosen to look at this video. No, they haven't chosen to look at this video. This video is being pushed across all mainstream media, pushed across YouTube, Facebook. I even saw that RTE had firefighters, police, and nurses dancing Jerusalem, you know, on the stage. I must bring that video up. I doubt that very much. You know, I don't think that that people get knocked off like that as much anymore. I think that it's terms and conditions. I think you either agree, you don't agree. I think that that kind of thing. It's a big thing to take another's life. You know, even among the people who do the work of the other side for darkness. I mean, it's still a big thing, you know. It's a term and condition thing. It's how much of a ticket you've taken in response to, in their mind, does that equate being removed permanently? And I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think it is. I wouldn't think that. I think it's a very big ticket you have to take in order for, in their game of terms and conditions, for that to be the case. Christ, I hope that holds now. You know, which is why I say, grow your own food, have lots of children, have large families, get community with like-minded individuals, and, you know, take God's ticket. Take God's ticket. You know, enact His rule. His law, and you'll avoid taking that ticket, these other tickets, you know. All right, backbiting. Oh, Jesus, I don't do backbiting, man. I don't do that. It's not in my nature. It's not my nature because I'm not that powerless. I don't feel so powerless that I need to backbite. I think you only backbite if you feel powerless. I don't feel powerless. I have my failings, all right. I have my weaknesses and all the rest of it, but I don't feel I don't feel like I'm in competition with somebody like that. You know, I think that's we're on two different levels. We're about two different things. You know, do my knitting. What I will say about the pay trolls is that they have a good sense of humour. You know, be entertaining. All right, so that's that side. Really, I'll use a finer thread, I think, for the other side, because down the whole side of this bag, the main structure isn't burst open, but the kind of lining is torn away from it, and that needs to be stitched. And I'll use a lighter stitch for that, I think. Also, I mean, it's in pieces. Like, I mean, I need a new bag, really, obviously, but I'm milking this for all it's worth. What would I use to fix that? Some kind of a panel, little panels, small strips actually would do the trick. Glued with a strong epoxy either side. Where are we at now? Okay. Drop frames, 116, really? That's not too bad though, is it? You ain't Irish unless you backbite. Not true. That's not true. That's not true. For any demographic. I don't agree with that. I think backbiting is an inherent part of low trust societies. And, you know, the group I mentioned earlier, who end up become bankers and solicitors and lawyers and doctors and dentists and all that. Those people who are pushed hard into those kind of, you know, I think that if you have low trust, you backbite. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? How do I feel about the destruction of the Irish pub? It's a double-edged sword, because there is a need to socialise. There really is. At the same time, the Irish did and do have a problem with alcoholism. I think this is also part of the sickness that was in Irish society, which is what's led to the downfall and the destruction of Irish society. A part of, anyway. I think it's a part of it. So it's a double-edged sword. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, the majority at the moment, we're in a lockup at the moment. I won't call it lockdown. That's their terminology. I'm going to call it a lockup, right? So we're in a lockup at the moment, and most cafes and coffee outlets and pubs are closed. And they're deemed non-essential services, okay? Like, I look after somebody at the moment who has had a relapse through multiple sclerosis. She lost the ability to walk over Christmas. And so I bring her food every second day. And I clean her kitchen, I clean her countertops, I clean the food off the floor. I take the recycling and the rubbish out to the waste disposal area. I do that every 2 days. Now, I saw the need that she needs a walker, one of those walkers with brakes, you know, those things with, like, so. I was looking for one of those. Now, there is one cafe in town here that's still open, stays open, and the seating outside of it is unofficial, right? So there's a lip which he doesn't claim as his own. So if somebody gets coffee, they can go out and sit outside, but he lays down cushions so that people can sit there to make it comfortable for them. So he gets around the legality of that way. So this is deemed a non-essential service, okay? Yet, another guy I know who for years, like, and we see each other every now and then, like, was sitting there. He came along in his car, got out and sat down with myself and my friend, and we were just all chatting. And I was talking about this girl, and that I was saying to them, if you know of anybody who has a walker, can you let me know? Because it would help this girl. And so I heard nothing more about it. And then I'd say about a week, 2 weeks later, he sent me a message on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, to say that he had one. And so I met him then a couple of days later, and he gave, up the road there, I collected the walker, and I brought that down to my friend who has the MS, multiple sclerosis. Now, I won't get into the psychology of her with the device. She's still, she sees that as giving in. She's all the rest of it, as people do. They fight all of that. They fight the degradation of themselves. They want to be alive. They want to continue to regenerate as opposed to degenerate. But the point I'm going to make about this is that, what do you deem a non-essential service? You see, through socializing, I was able to get something. This guy has an aging mother, and his mother had this walker. She didn't need it. She didn't want it. She didn't feel safe with it. She's in her 80s. So it was just lying around the house. But because this guy heard that I needed one for this person, he was able to give it to me. Simply due to the fact that we're sitting there socializing. So how do you deem what a non-essential service is? How do you define it? Who has the right to define what a non-essential service is? Who has that superpower? Who has that godlike ability? It's like, people saying about mass immigration into this country, all the brainwashed, useful idiots will say, oh, you know, they can all come. They can all come. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. And then they say, oh, we're all mixed now. We're all mixed. And it's like, we're all mixed. And it's great that we're all mixing with people from all over the world inside our own nation and inside our own borders of the Ireland. And they're like children to me. Same as the people who are defining non-essential services. Now, I get that the people who are defining non-essential services are doing that for the global financial elites who run the World Bank and central banking. I get that. I get that they're downsizing the economy, and I get that they're resetting the economy, and that they don't have the money, or they don't have the Ponzi scheme is no longer working. I understand that. But like from our perspective, looking upwards along the triangle, how, you know, they don't see what, or they either don't see or don't care, or the book has been passed so much that it's not in their minds as to what to think about what is an essential or non-essential service. Like pubs in Ireland were for socializing. It you know, say what you like about the consumption of alcohol. Of course, it led to one of the things that led to the destruction of this country. Alcoholism. But it was a social outlet as well. And that social outlet was, so many different connections were made, both positive as well as negative, beneficial as well as deleterious to individuals. Like, so, you know, we're not God. This is why I started to go back to Christianity and believe in a God again, because I began to see how many people became their own God. And this is what convinced me that this isn't working. This is how you lose your nation, when people take on being a God in themselves and say, I am God. I have God in me. I am God. I can determine, you know, that it's okay for Africa to move into Ireland, that it's okay for Poland to come to Ireland and Ireland to become Poland, or China to come. Like, they don't think it through. Why don't they think it through? Because they're human beings. They can't decide or define through their fallibility and their limited capacity as a living being, as a creation, not a creator. You understand? So that's how I see about the Irish pub. Anyway, but you're sorry you asked now. So, all right, so I'm going to leave it there. All right, I'll have my bag stitched. I got to get charging that battery. Heading out on the bike later, and it was nice to talk to you. Take care.